Good day, and welcome to another episode of Jimmy Jaunt. So on today's ride, I met up with the group at Kangaroo, had our coffee, had our talks, and continued on to our destination. I forget where we were going. Holy crap, how could I forget that? We went to the Riverside Inn. Riverside Inn, okay. On the way, I took the back route, so I was able to go down on Orange Boulevard and hit the curve that I absolutely love. Had nobody in front, nobody behind, so again I got to go at full speed, didn't have to slow down, so that was fun. Made it to the Kangaroo, had my coffee. Actually, I had tea this time. I don't know if I'll do that again. I think I'd rather go and buy a cup of coffee from the Kangaroo if I have a shortage of coffee grounds. I really did not care for the tea, kind of not my thing, at least not in the morning. But anyways, got there, met up with the group that was going to be riding. It was only Tom and Teresa and myself, so very small, just the three of us. And we started heading out. So on the way, nice day, weather was beautiful, no wind, maybe a light wind, that was it. Started out in the upper 40s, maybe low 50s, and pretty much by the end of the day it was up into almost 85. I think it hit 82 if I remember right. They have a little field off here on the left, and we had a couple horses out there. One of these trips I'll take some time, stop off, and get a photo or two so you guys can see what that's like. Basically a carriage or a harness racing. The rider sits behind a two-wheeled buggy that's connected to the horse through a harness, and they race around a track. So we continued down on 46, and Tom found a little back road, and if you watch the vehicle that was behind me, we're slowing down, signals are on, he's coming up on me pretty quick, but the guy behind him didn't even see anyone slowing down, so he ended up having to swerve off into the shoulder. And here's a clip of it being a little closer, just so you can see. So again, you got a huge truck with a double axle trailer, so he's obviously hauling some heavy weight, and he probably wasn't even paying attention and realized he was catching up on that white van, who did kind of stop quickly and just had no avoidance but to slam the brakes and get off into the shoulder. Luckily there wasn't a collision. So we went to Thrill Hill, and this time I didn't have anyone pointing out the pothole I should hit, so I avoided it. Yeah, found a few curves and pretty much had a good time. So Tom found some routes that took us around some lakes and found a few curvy roads. It was a pretty good ride, beautiful weather, so I was happy about that. Didn't have to deal with any cold or too much heat. It did get a little warmer in the afternoon. I kind of wish I had switched over to my summer jacket, but that's okay, it happens. So we found some curves, went around, I think probably, let's see, it's probably about an hour and a half ride, maybe 2 hour ride. Now we had a little stretch that we had to get on 19, US 19, and at some point Tom had realized his GPS misdirected him. We were supposed to have made a turn back there, so we had to do a little quick turnaround. No big deal, we had plenty of time, and we knew we had the right route when we saw the motorcycles coming out of the turn just as we were getting ready to turn right onto that road. So after a little while, we ended up coming down the street and came across the Riverside Inn, right up along the river, obviously, and went and had our lunch and then talked about what our plans were for the return ride and maybe where we'd want to go next weekend. While we ate, we got to see a sailboat motor by with his little dinghy. Went up the river going towards the Gulf Coast. So we finished up our lunch and we weren't too far away from one of the inlets, so we went up to the Gulf Coast, found a park, and I did a little bit of work on Teresa's trike. Her left passenger peg had loosened up. We looked at it further after getting it tightened. Tom tightened it up, and after looking at it a little bit further, it appears that the lock washers weren't installed. So Harleys vibrate a lot, so they have a tendency to loosen up the nuts pretty easy unless they're Loctited or have a lock washer on there. So we got done with that and started heading out. I was getting eaten up by gnats, or no-see-ums, and I didn't want to be there anymore, so we headed out and went through a little bit of a forest area, conservation area. And Tom did find some curves. This is a nice area. I like it because of the Spanish moss hanging from the trees, and there are scenes where some of these roads, the trees overgrow enough that they're actually able to touch each other, kind of giving you a tunnel effect. I always thought that was nice, where you have the trees branching over into a tunnel and the Spanish moss hanging. It's kind of reminds me of a true southern Florida or southern United States. And of course, you know, all roads lead to Yalaha, so we ended up coming across Yalaha Bakery, the German bakery that we love, and pulled in, and of course, what do we see? But we noticed a couple bikes sitting over by the tree that looked really familiar. So it turns out that a couple of our best riders were here with the Harley group out of Sanford. And we got parked, had our snacks with them, visited with them for a while. And then it was time to head home. So we got out on the bikes, and as we were leaving, we ended up having a couple passengers pick up. So Kirsten and Dave decided to head back with us to Sanford, or Sanford area, and we had them tag along for the return ride. Now I always like to find a little bit of spot or road that I can get up a little bit of speed on a corner. So on this one I slowed down a ways. Kirsten was behind me and Dave following her. And I let a little bit of gap between Teresa and I. And as I came around this corner, I decided, okay, I'm going to go for it. I didn't end up scraping my left peg this time, but the left peg is the side that doesn't have the little rub nub. So then we went by the Monterey Mushrooms Orlando plant, and they actually grow the mushrooms there. You can stop in and get a brown bag, like a lunch bag size, for I think $2.50, and they have all sorts of mushroom assortments. Then we continued on to Sanford and everyone started branching off. So we all waved our goodbyes. Teresa and I turned off to go towards Deltona area. Tom, Kirsten, and Dave all turned off towards Sanford, Lake Mary area. And that was it. Hope you enjoyed. Remember to give me a thumbs up if you liked it. And don't forget to subscribe. I appreciate it. Thank you.